Hi everybody, good evening, how are you? I hope you can see me okay. Looks like I've gone live and managed to do it correctly this time, yay! So just before I came live, I don't know whether you saw, we had like a massive, big, not rainstorm, but it went so dark again like last week. And I thought, no, you're not going to be able to see me, but it's a little bit brighter. So hopefully that's okay. How are you? Let me get my phone because I'm on my own today and I'm going to try and keep track of your comments as well as we go along. But it's not a selly show today. I'm not doing a launch. There is a couple of new bits on the website that I want to talk to you about before we do the demos, but nice and relaxed today. I've set myself a challenge to do as many different techniques as I can think of with the Super Stripes one stencil. One I might cheat on and use the second stencil, but we'll see. But let me get you up so I can see your comments, and we'll give everybody a minute or so just to join. I don't expect as many of you as last week because I suppose with a big launch and everything. Hi Valerie, hi Karen. Anyone else that's joining in? Right, just a little comment. Hi Steph. Right, let me think of the things that I've got to tell you, the not boring admin stuff, but stuff that I like to go through with you. So thank you, as always, the amazing launch last week. Valerie, is your stuff turned up now? Oh, I can see the comments on here, actually. I don't need the phone. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Jane. Hi, Nola. Do let me know, Valerie, if your stuff's turned up. Hi, Sheila, because I know you were having some problems with the post in your area, weren't you? So, the order for the more people that wanted the bundles. I can't believe how many people wanted the bundle again and the sentiments, so it's amazing. Orders in. I'm hoping by the end of next week. I don't like to promise, and then, you know, we'll see if it turns up on time. But it's all in. Oh, Valerie, no, still waiting. It might be worth, Valerie, just giving your local sorting office a ring just in case they've tried to deliver it, not left you a card or anything like that. I'll try my end as well to chase through Royal Mail, see if they do put these QR codes now on parcels that I send. I don't know whether any of you have seen on the labels that I print. And even though you don't pay for tracking, sometimes they scan it. They don't have to, because if you haven't paid for tracking, they don't have to, like a barcode. But these QR codes, and sometimes they scan them through the process. So it's worth checking that. So before I start the demo, really quick things. There's a couple of new digital downloads for those of you with cutting machines like Scan and Cut, Cricut, Silhouette, or there was a lady last week, wasn't there? Natalie was saying that you can get some like generic cutting machines. So there's two brand new digital downloads for you in the What's New section of the website. One of them is basically like the Super Stripe stencil, but I've resized it slightly for 5x7, so you can cut it out for a cover die, or then you can resize if you want to do yourself a bigger stencil or do part of it, anything like that. The other one is not really so much of a die, that's for your vinyl cutters. You may have seen a few months ago I did myself a t-shirt where I put in rose gold. It's supposed to be a bit like if your friends ask you to go out and do something and you say, I can't, I'm crafting today. So that was a design that I did myself on some software, so I've uploaded that for you as well. I've done them as cheap as I can. The digital files, it basically just covers the time that it takes me to do them. Margaret, let's have a look. So delighted with my goodies, working all week, haven't had a chance to have a play. Ah, brilliant. Hi Sarah. So the other thing you may have noticed, I did a live last Friday on the crafting together with all brands. I always get confused. So that's great. I'm going to be on there. I am on again at Friday at 11, the same time. Whether that will be my regular slot or not, I don't know yet, because I'm one of the admins as well now on that group. So obviously if people want to use that slot, then that's fine. I might need to move mine. But you'll see an extra demo there, and then obviously you'll have Money Mondays here, and then whatever time I have in between. But this week off, this weekend, I've been madly doing some more designs because there's something exciting to tell you ready for October. I can't say yet. I'm sure there was something else. Oh, just a couple of other things. A couple of you asked for on the website. Prize ribbon. I've only got the distress ink, not the oxide. That's on there. New stand for your brushes. All my brushes have just fell out of it as I've picked it up. Let me put one nice one in. Just a little one. Oh, this is going on. I don't think I've completely pressed the button on this one before I went live, but I'll finish that. Little stands and a couple of other bits and pieces. There's some new shades of cardstock, nice greys and neutrals and things like that that I'm going to put on, just because a few of you asked. But like I say, it's not a Manning Wendy's. Hi Vicky. But not a big selling one today. So let's get on with it. I've got a whole array of things all around my desk. You know, when I set myself this challenge and you think, oh, it'll be fine, there can't be that many, and you start thinking of more and more and more. So I'm sure this isn't going to be an extensive list of everything that you can do with a stencil, but let's have a go at seeing how many we can get. So I'm just going to switch to my overhead camera for you. Hi Anne. 2 seconds just while I switch and get it all straight. Zoomed in a bit for you. Lovely. Right, so yeah, I'm going to use the Super Stripe stencil because that was the one from the release. So I've got a ton of bits of cardstock, bits of acetate, bits of vellum, a couple of different colours, and I'm just going to play. I've got inks, I've got embossing. The one thing I haven't got here is my jelly plate, so there's probably more that we can do with that. But let's just get some inks out and see how far we get and count how many different designs we can do. So let's start off with a very basic, obviously, popping some ink through the stencil. Just going to grab some low-tack tape. And I'm not making cards today, I'm just going to whiz through and see how many different backgrounds, if you like, we can make, that which you can then either use as backgrounds for your cards, or you can die cut into them or whatever. But this is really to get those creative ideas going, because sometimes we look at a product, don't we, and we think, oh, I've got another stencil or another this or another that, or we need to make a card in a certain style. Do you ever find that you just use the same like techniques sometimes over and over again? And we're all guilty of it, me included. So I thought this would be a good idea to get us all kind of just thinking about it. And as we go along, if you think of something else, of course shout out, but I have done a list, so I'm hoping there's lots. So do you want to have a look at that prize ribbon while we're here? So I'm going in with my blendy brush, my Time for Tea one. So the most obvious thing to do with the stencil is use a piece of cardstock, and you could do like we did last week, which is blend a certain area. So last week we did around the flowers, didn't we? And peel that back, and that would just do an area that maybe would come out from behind a stamped image or another die cut on top. or we can do the whole one. So let's have a look at what it looks like all over. So many of you started to play already. Honestly, the first day that things were getting delivered, I was so shocked. It's amazing. So the plan is really, I've got another lot that's in production ready for the start of September. I've got a big thing going on in October, but there might be little bits in between. And I'm not talking about big full collections with tons of items in. But I've designed some things that don't really fit sometimes with other collections, so I thought we'll do those in between as and when on their own, 1 or 2 items. This is quite blue and dark, isn't it, this prize ribbon? But this is the distress ink, not the oxide, so it's more of a clean colour. Will I be having jelly plate? Yeah, I mean, I can get hold of those and put them on the website, no problem. When I next place an order with the supplier I use, I'm sure I've got one that stocks jelly plates. So you could keep going with that and make it really smooth. Sometimes I quite like that mottly look. I find I get that more with the inks than the oxides. So let's have a look, see how that. So that's background number 1. Let's go background number 2. I'm going to do another colour first and then go on top. So let's do this one is Mermaid Lagoon, and this is the oxide ones. So you can see the difference when you're putting on oxides compared to inks. It's like thicker and chalkier, and you get less of that mottled look. I mean, if you keep going with the inks as well, you can get it more intense, but I find you can kind of slap these on a little bit more. I'm going to go about half. I've got a bit of a shiny surface here, so I can just wipe it over after. And then let's go Broken China, which is another blue. I'm sticking to all blues tonight, just so we can play. Got my little bit of scrap paper so I don't put my fingers all over that. I'm sure there was another piece of news that I needed to give you. It will come to me. And let's blend those two together in the middle. So it's just a slight variation of those blues. So we're starting off with just some basic ones, and then we'll get more complicated and more complicated as we go on. So you could just go over again with now another colour, another darker one. So the prize ribbon again. In fact, let's do that and see how that looks. I'm going to try with, can you see where it moved slightly? That's probably because I'm using a big brush. So I'm going to go in with a smaller, like a finger dauber instead, see if we can get that a little bit crisper. And I find this with stencils that have quite wide areas or delicate, because they've got lots of detail, got a little bit more control. I think it should come out a bit darker as well doing this. I'm going to keep all these. These are going to be perfect, these backgrounds, aren't they? I'll make a few cards and stick them on the website, but also I'm going to keep a lot for guide cards. I'll show you in a bit. You're not allowed to tell Dean because it's his birthday tomorrow, but I'll show you the card I've made for him using a Stencil Technique and the new die that's come in. Because he does like football and he does like beer and all that kind of thing, but they don't always want, do they, the guys, that kind of look in a card. He's quite happy with, yes, his favourite colour's blue and all that. Oh, it's 42 tomorrow, can you imagine? We met when I was 14. We didn't go out together straight away, but we were 14, we were in the same group of friends. But we didn't actually start seeing each other till I was 28. So yeah, I feel like I've got more control with this finger dauber here. While I ramble on. Yes, Margaret, it's really relaxing, isn't it, batch making backgrounds? Some of them are quicker than this technique, so I know this is some basic stuff that you've probably all seen before, but I really wanted to kind of start off. Some of you have told me that you're quite new to card making and ink blending and things like that, and then there's loads of other techniques to come as well. So let's have a look at that one. Now, one thing I'm not doing here is cleaning my stencil, because I'm going to use that in a minute. So that's another look, and again I could really have spent some time making that really crisp, but that definitely gave me a better look in terms of the lines with the little finger dauber, I think, rather than the big one. So that's number 2. Let me just give myself a wipe down here. In fact, let's not waste that. Smooch that up with some water. Let's use that ink. I'm sorry if it keeps going auto. What's it called? Autofocus. I haven't quite figured out that on my new camera, how to change that yet. I had to make sure it was the right one. Absolutely. Oh, let me just get rid of those other comments. There we go. So I'm just going to keep that. I know that's not technically a stencil, but we've got another background out of it. There's still quite a lot left there, but I want to show you what I want to do with the rest on the stencil. So you could easily get another background out of that. And then this time I'm going to use the excess on the stencil there and spritz that. Quite a lot. So what we're in so far, we've got 3. This will be number 4. 4 in about 10 minutes. That's not too bad, is it? So you could either go in with your hand there, or I like to use a brayer to make sure it picks up. And this is where you could really, if you've got your jelly plate, really do loads at a time. That's lovely, isn't it? Let that dry. So that's number 4. You might even be able to get another one off that. I know it's not a different technique as such, but why not? Yes, this is Gemma, is bye Valerie. Gemma is the queen of background making, aren't you? So that last bit, just a little lighter one. Right, now I am going to give it all a wipe because I'm going to change techniques now. I'm going to do another inking all over a piece of card, and then I'm going to do a different technique through the stencil. We should do this with different types of things, like do how many different stamp techniques can we do in an hour and stuff like that. Is that something that you like to see? Let's dry that off. I haven't got my little helper, you see, today. I haven't got to do my... Oh, well, should be all right. Try it with my hand. Right, so let's go in. I've got another blue now. Let's vary the blues. Let's go for quite a dark one. Let's go Chip Sapphire. My big brush again because I just want to get loads of colour down. So what's everyone else up to this evening or this week? Anything exciting? I'm supposed to be taking a bit of time off, but we'll see. We shall see. Definitely part of tomorrow for Dino's birthday, though he hasn't fully decided what he wants to do yet. Oh, I've forgotten one thing for this next one. What I want to do now is just spritz some water through my stencil. So we're going to bleach some of that ink back. You'll have to excuse me for a second while I grab some kitchen roll. I'm back. So this is what happens when I'm left to my own devices. I forget things. You need a magic hands like in Create and Craft, don't you? So I've got ink all over. I'm putting my stencil on top, and I'm going to spritz with water through the stencil. Or you could splash a little bit. So let's do a bit of that as well. Oh, thank you guys. Just, I really think sometimes it can be, you can fall into the trap, can't you, of just doing the same things. So sometimes just playing, where we're not thinking about cards, we're not thinking about a particular person to do them for. So then I've just left it for a second or two, and then I'm pressing off. You could do more, but that's again yet another different one. I'm not going to bother smooching again. Smooshing. I will say that wrong. Hopefully crafting for you, Nala. Right then, clean it off again. What are we going to do next? Okay, so there's still variations that we could do on that, but I just want to move away from inking a little bit, just to do some heat embossing. Might come back to some inking in a minute, but let's have a look at some just basic heat embossing, and then we've got some more complicated heat embossing ones as well. So just got a white piece of card and a sticky pad. Don't tend to bother sticking down for this one. I just kind of go all over, and if it's not perfect then that's absolutely fine, but I don't mind as long as you kind of just go in at a right angle up and down. You should be okay. You could go in even with a unused clean dauber and get a cleaner image if you want. So that's just straight through with the clear ink. I've got a couple of different colours here. Let's get the copper. And this gives then almost a foiled look, a metallic look with the embossing, but we are going to do a foiled one as well in a little while. Now the foiled one that I'm going to do in a minute, I haven't even tried before. I only got this stuff for it last week, so I haven't had a chance to try. So I thought, what better way? I was going to test it before, and then I thought, you know what, sometimes you guys might want to see testing things for the first time, because even for us guys that demonstrate and stuff, doesn't always go right first time. So if we do come across any tips or issues, we can sort them out together, can't we? Craft on a Tuesday with my sister-in-law. Oh, that's nice. Outside crafting, wow. You're brave in this country, Nola. Right then. So let's heat set that. I've got so many things plugged in here. I'm having to swap plugs as I go. I've got my laptop, I've got a die cutting machine, I've got a laminator, that might give you a hint. I've got a camera. Okay, so that's just heat embossing. You could absolutely do that over, we can have a go at that if we've got time. You could heat emboss over the inks as well. Just make sure your ink is dry and use an anti-static bag, but we'll try that in a little while if we get time. Let's try this foiling one because I really want to see whether this works. So the reason that I'm trying this is that I saw on, is it Marion Embossing, who works for WOW, and I saw a few people doing this technique on Instagram and things like that that she's done with the WOW foil that I've put on the website and this bonding powder. So this is similar apparently to, I suppose it's similar to a clear, but I think it's more sticky. So you can, if you want a really distressedy look, so we'll try that first, where you just put it on the heated up powder. So you start off exactly as you would if you were going to just heat emboss like we did with that one. So I'm doing this quite quick, so do excuse me if my stripes aren't perfect because of the speed, because I do want to start making sure I get as many techniques as possible for you. So same as I did with the copper, but I'm doing this bonding powder. I think I've put all this on the heat embossing section on the website, I think. It's quite a big stencil, isn't it? So sometimes I find I have to pour the powder back in and then go in again if I haven't covered it all. I think that's everything. Right, now I need to heat it up, but I'm going to try and just do a section at a time because the powder needs to be hot. So let's trim that down. And I'll do it in sections. So I'm going to heat it like I did the other powder. So that powder's melted and I'm going to lay over the foil and just burnish. Let's try it with my fingers, but I will also, that's somewhere my little cricket scraping tool. Let's see how cleanly this comes off. Now this is supposed to be your more distressed look, doing it this way. Oh yes, that's very distressing. So you don't get clear stripes so much. So let's try it the other way that they mentioned, which is using your laminator. I mean, that's still a really pretty look. But I'm always on the lookout of a way that you can get your stamps and your stencils to give a real kind of crisp foiled look without having to buy like your foil stamps or dies or whatever you call them, like the foil plates, because it's expensive, right? We've got to do all the different ones. So melt it again enough for it to stick on. Quick burnish. And then apparently, if you've got a laminator, now I haven't got a special one, I haven't got one of those ones that's marketed as a foil machine. I've just got your standard kind of office laminator that I had lying around anyway. And I'm going to put that in between a piece of paper. In fact, I'm going to have to trim that down because the last thing I want to do is melt that foil inside of my laminator. I really hope this works, because if it does, we've got a cool way of laminating without foiling, sorry. So I'm just going to run it through my laminator now. And I've got it on the hot setting. So let's see what that does. Whether this works on the cold setting, I don't know. You could maybe try that as well. But this means that if this works, that you could do this with your stamped images as well as your stenciled images, couldn't you? Okay, so that's gone through the laminator on hot. Let's see. Oh yeah. I still wouldn't say it's as crisp as when you use one of those foil press stamps, if you like, but actually that's really, really successful, and it's really in there on the card. So that's a really, really nice look. So if you have got a laminator lying around, grab some of that bonding powder and the foil. And I think I've got just gold, silver and copper so far on the website, but they do all sorts of colours. So that's a really, really nice one. So actually I'll probably chop that down and use that as two separate backgrounds, because I don't dislike that distressed one either, but that's amazing. Bye Sheila, take care. Right, let's do, what have we got next? Let's do some paste through a stencil. I'm just going to clean my stencil off because it's got that embossing sticking all over it. I really think it's good to look at your stash in a different way, isn't it? And get some new, fresh ideas. And I think we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 backgrounds so far in about half an hour, haven't we? We started about 10 past. Toddy, you got a laminator? Yeah? You do need that bonding powder though. I did try, I remember years ago somebody mentioned to me you could do something similar with a clear powder, and I didn't find it worked. I guess it might depend on which clear powder, but clearly that bonding one is a lot stickier. What did I say we were doing next? Did I? Oh, paste. So let's go some gold, grey card this time. And I just hold that in place again. So again, this is one, I'm just doing it on some coloured card. This is the Creative Expressions grey that I've got. but you could do this over an inked, multiple ink, one ink, something else. But if you've got pastes, glittery ones, coloured ones, I'm actually just going to use, because I really like the look of this grey card, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of extra dimension. So I'm actually just going to use a gloss, transparent gloss texture paste. And I've put somewhere, now all my supplies are getting all mixed up. Oh, I've got a palette knife somewhere. Here we go. So one thing you could do if you're into stenciling and you get the digi download of the stripes, and you'll be able to do that for future stencils as well, is resize them. If you want like a massive stencil because you're into all mixed media, you could absolutely make a huge, could resize it. This isn't the best palette knife for it because this is one of my Cricut scrapers. I couldn't find my packet of little plastic scrapers anywhere. It will do. This is what we do as crafters, isn't it? We make do. Yeah, it's absolutely not doing the right job here, but hey, we make it work. Just going to do half here. So we'll let this dry as we're doing the other ones and come back to it. So that's going to dry clear. What you can do as well is if you want to add a bit of sparkle, you can, while it's wet, you could sprinkle glitters over that. If you haven't got the glitter paste yourself, you do a clear one like this or a white one, and then put your own glitter on. So I'm going to let that dry. I've got a pile of things to dry over there and a pile of ones that are already dry, and I'm absolutely covered in everything, but I'm learning, Gemma, you see. And Gemma thinks I'm a bit scared of getting too messy. So I'm learning, I'm trying. I guess it's because I do mainly clean and simple cards. Yes, I don't mind getting messy with paint, but I don't do a lot of mixed media. But actually I'm finding that I can do mixed media but still not lose my style, because I think that's what always scared me about mixed media, is like Gemma does this amazing, I wouldn't say classic mixed media, it's got a grungy element to it like classic mixed media, but she does it in an arty way. But I just didn't ever find that it came naturally to me like that. Whereas I feel like I'm trying to find my way with this mixed media techniques, but bringing them into my style. I hope I'm doing it justice, Gemma. So paste we've done. Right, let's do something different. Let's do pens. So a couple of different ones that we can try here. One is using a fine liner pen, and this is probably more effective with stencils where you've got different shapes, but it's not going to do any harm to show you, just to jog your memory, is using fine liners and using stencils in what I call the old-fashioned school way, where you are literally kind of butting your pen inside the stencil and drawing inside the stencil, and then you can either colour that in, you can leave it as a layer, you can do this over the top of other inking. Oops, to me it doesn't matter. When then this is more mixed media where you can add in different layers and things like that, and of course if it was shapes you could colour them in. So that's just your fine liner pens. Also you could do with pens we were talking about these last week, the watertight colour pens. You can do 2 different kind of watercolour looks. So if I do a bit of colour through a couple of stripes with a pen, and then if I get my watercolour brush, I bet you haven't got my water in either, have I? Oh, I can use some out my spritzer. Just hold that in place for a second. My hands are so sticky. This is bonkers. Right, brush. And I'm going to almost blend and paint then inside those stripes. Sometimes you get a bit of bleed. That's absolutely fine with me. If you want it more clean and clear, go slow on the water. I'm leaving areas, I'm not blending it too much, I'm leaving some areas where it's a little bit darker, some not. And let's compare that. If I do a couple of stripes further down with actual watercolour, this is one of my oldest palettes, look. If I can get it open. Why is it stuck? Oh my gosh. So I hope I haven't broken it. Oh, there we go. Phew! Yeah, one of my oldest palettes. So I'm going to get a similar kind of blue. And I'm going to physically paint it through and see how that differs to the pens. And this is perfectly what I mean by there's no right or wrong. There is only what you feel looks right to you, the style that you're looking for. Gemma's saying you can get everything out by washing your hair. That's brilliant. Quite right. Get yourself lathered up. So let's have a look at those. So you can tell now I'm trying to squeeze in as many because I'm not even doing full stencils here, but just showing you the different ones. So that was the pen and that was the brush. So that's 2 different watercolour ones. You could, let's do something. I've got a list here. I'm just reading my list. Oh, let's go back to heat embossing and let's try it on acetate and vellum while this goes through. I'm going to do this on the die cutting machine. So if anybody's ever heard of, some people call it dry embossing, other people call it just embossing with your stencils. So while this is going through the die cutting machine, I'll get ready to emboss on the acetate. So I'm just making sure it's clean. You could actually, if you've got ink all over there and then emboss on your white powder, you're going to get a bit of an impression. So on my machine, I'm using a snap. So I find that if I use the same sandwich as if I was using a thin die, but with an extra shim or 2 of just cardstock, that's just like 200 GSM, and I put that in between the A and the B. Now it's going to vary on everybody's machine as to when you can get a good impression, but I tried this yesterday with that. You know what it's like sometimes, even when you do the same thing twice, it can be different. But let's run that through. and we'll do some vellum and acetate as well. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're up to 10. This is number 11. I was hoping to do 20, but I think that was probably a little bit ambitious, wasn't it, for an hour? So that's given us, it's not quite as deep as an embossing folder, unless you can manage to squeeze another shim, but it is still a nice bit of texture. So you could make that even more interesting by adding some inks on there as well, or gilding wax or anything like that, just to bring that out. But let's go back to embossing. I'll just do this once, maybe on the vellum, but it will be the same technique on the acetate, because at the end I want to get a second stencil out and give you a little sneaky peek. How about that? Of a stencil that's coming up. Yeah, ink over the top, absolutely. So this is the same as if we were doing the other embossing over just normal cardstock, or we use the bonding powder for the foil. This is quite fun though, having a play and not thinking about particular cards, isn't it? Let's go metallic brass this time. And again, excuse if my stripes aren't perfect, being as I've done this super quick. So using heat embossing on acetate and vellum, you can use pretty much any vellum, whether it's plain or patterned or anything like that. Acetate though, you need to make sure it is heat resistant, because what happens otherwise is it just starts to melt and bend and warp, and then you can't chop into it or anything like that. But it's really nice for layering over. And move your heat tool a little quicker when heat embossing on acetate as well, because you can see it is moving. And use your anti-static bag so it doesn't pick up a big thumbprint like it has done on me there. That is so pretty, isn't it? Yeah, I do think layering then vellum, well, you can make it little envelopes with it, you can layer it over your cards. Imagine if that's like a stamped image, you can get just a little hint coming from behind. The same with the acetate. You could do heat embossed stencils or stamps in windows for your shaker cards on vellum or acetate. Heat emboss even your sentiments on them. So many different ideas there. Right, so let me go back to, I'll tell you what I'll do it on. This one that wasn't technically a stencil, that was the excess ink. So actually here I'm giving you a sneaky peek of a September stencil for the start of September release. but hey, and it's called Super Stars. So you had super stripes and now you've got super stars, and this is going to go perfect with the rest of the release. But for now, let's add in, I've probably still got some dark on there, that brush, but that's okay. Let's mix it up. And you've got all these different sized stars on here. So as well, think about your stencils. This is over just some smooched ink, but if you could do this over the top of your single inked ones in embossing or a contrasting ink. It's really about playing, isn't it? You could do like a rainbow, it goes from light to dark. I'm absolutely in love with this stencil right now. Right then, let's have a look and see what we've got. And I think I've got a couple of other bits that I've already done to show you. That would look great. In fact, let's not waste that. Such a shame to get rid of that. My bray is buried right now. That's going to go really nice when it's dry. Okay, let's get all the ones that we've done together. I don't think my paste has fully gone transparent yet. I do find that Ranger paste takes a little while to dry, but we'll get it back over anyway and you can see it compared to the others. And bear in mind, obviously, some of them I've only used a partial stencil. But let's see how many we've done in, it's less than an hour, isn't it? We started about 10 past. And you could do more. Oh, one I didn't get time to do was stamping through a stencil. So if you put down some colour or some cardstock, put your stencil over and use some stamps. A big background stamp would look really pretty in a contrasting ink. And then obviously there's loads of different things that you can do then for your, if you use it as a digital download, because you can change all the size and things like that, or make it a die even. So this is Dean's card. Shh. So this is technique similar. I did some speckled egg all over the back. I heat embossed in gold through the stencil, and then I added some darker blue in the central part, and I used the new die coming up for that. This one I did a while ago and put some heat embossed leaves over the top, and then I'm going to put the sentiment in the middle. So we've got stars that we just did. Yeah, that's the paste. It's still very, very wet, but it will go transparent, that, and give it a textured look. I'll put that one out of the way before I put things on top of it. And then we had our two similar to this one, using the excess. Roxy, no problem. Standard ink only. Heat emboss on acetate. Pens or watercolours. Two different types of foil. So that was just bonding powder but no laminating to give a distressed look, and that was with the laminating. Heat embossed on cardstock. Layered inking. Ink and then spritz with water through the stencil, and then stenciling over a watercoloured background from just excess ink. So how many did we get in the end? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, and the embossed one, the dry embossing, 11. And I think you could go on and on and on, couldn't you? This is absolutely not an exhaustive list of everything that you can do with one stencil, but it really does show, let me go back onto the normal camera. It really does show you, I hope, that sometimes the play from what you normally do is worth it. Did you enjoy that? I did. Bit different. And it won't always be like that. Sometimes I'll do a video where it's a very specific project or a very specific technique. But yeah, I thought we'd just have a bit of a play. So have a great week. I will see you over live 11 AM on the Crafting Together with All Brands. And yeah, check out on the website as well. There's those downloads if you need them. And there are a few things that I'm constantly adding to the shop craft section, which is the supplies, because as and when you tell me that you want something back in stock from there, or if I just see it and I think that'll be useful, or you guys say to me, where did you get this from, where did you get that from, then I stock up on there for you. But yeah, I will give you all a shout when the sentiments and the bundle are all back in. I promise you it won't be long. Take care guys, see you soon, bye.